Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. I am Fighter for JC. UFC 200. Jon Jones is officially out. He tested positive for a banned substance. And this was revealed about 2 nights ago at the time of this recording. It was a Wednesday night. So actually no, it was last night, not 2 nights ago. First off, I'm thinking Daniel Cormier is simply not destined to ever beat Jon Jones. I think Cormier's best chance would have been when their rematch was originally scheduled a couple of months ago or 3 months. I don't know exactly when that was, but the rematch was set and Daniel Cormier ends up injuring himself 2 or 3 weeks before the match. Jon Jones ended up facing OSP, Ovin St. Preux, I think that's how he pronounced his name. And Jon Jones really did not look like himself in that fight. Die-hard fans would say that, oh, he dominated OSP. But still, Jon Jones looked tentative in that fight. He looked stiff. He kind of loosened up towards the end. But I think if Cormier had faced that version of Jon Jones, I think that Cormier would have piled up the points on the first 2 or 3 rounds and possibly could have even stopped Jon Jones. That's just my opinion. I mean, Jon Jones' performance wasn't anything to write home about, to say the least. And now, here we are. UFC 200, just 3 days before the event. And Jon Jones gets busted for PED use. Now, if the UFC goes by the rules, then Jon Jones might be suspended for as long as 2 years. And Daniel Cormier, in 2 years' time, he'll be 40 years old, or close to it. And, you know, time is not on Cormier's side. A lot of things can happen in 2 years. Most likely Cormier would have been beaten by somebody else. He could end up getting beaten this Saturday. At the time I'm recording this video, the UFC still has not announced who Cormier's opponent is going to be this Saturday. Now, my other thought is, I think the UFC absolutely deserves this. Now, I'm not the biggest Conor McGregor fan, but I think the UFC was completely wrong in removing Conor McGregor from UFC 200. The UFC just wanted to prove to everybody that, you know, Conor McGregor is not bigger than the UFC. Nobody is. And, you know, first off, I think that's the wrong mentality for the UFC to have. I think in order for MMA to grow, you have to have athletes, fighters who transcend the sport, who are bigger than the sport. And you can't force an athlete to become something like Conor McGregor. You know, these guys are once-in-a-lifetime types of personalities, kind of like Muhammad Ali. When Muhammad Ali came around, the sport of boxing did not try to hold him down. Maybe politics did, but, you know, boxing, they let Muhammad Ali become Muhammad Ali. You know, there was none of this nonsense, oh, Ali's not bigger than boxing, we can't let him get away with all this stuff. And that was the UFC's big mistake with Conor. You know what? Over a stinking press conference, and they canceled Conor McGregor versus Diaz, despite everything that McGregor has done for the organization. So instead, they think they did better than McGregor Diaz and got Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. And you know what? Everything was going great until 3 days before the event took place. You know, you have a company man like McGregor who's willing to fight anybody at any time and has not done anything but promote the UFC. And all he was asking for was, you know, to skip a few press conferences so that he can focus on training and avenging his loss. He wanted to focus on correcting the mistakes he believed caused his defeat at the hands of Nate Diaz. I mean, it's a reasonable request, but you know what? Dana White, you know, that guy is more arrogant than the devil himself, and you know what, he wouldn't budge. And now this is what you get. So I feel bad for Daniel Cormier. I feel great for Conor McGregor. And you know what, Dana White, you completely deserve this. And I hope you're losing millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. And you know what, there's nothing you can do about it. And you can try to patch this up a little bit, but you know what, UFC 200 is a failure. Now you can try to put a spin to it, but you know what, this is not what the people want. You know, there's no positive spin to this at all. And the other thing I'm thinking about is USADA, USAADA, or however people refer to them as. They're just a bunch of crooks. They're very inconsistent. They allow Brock Lesnar to come in without, you know, the 4-month testing thing that they require of fighters. They give him an exemption. And then they turn around and ban Jon Jones. Come on. As a fight fan, I want to see Cormier Jones too. I've been waiting for it for a long time. And you know, USADA or USADA, they have absolutely no credibility. They have triple standards left and right. And you know what? Jon Jones is probably deserving of this ban as much as any other fighter who's ever been busted. I mean, truthfully, this guy hasn't really shown to have that much integrity. You know, there's the hit and run incident with the pregnant lady, and the cocaine use, a bunch of other stuff. And you know, naturally, if he gets busted for PEDs, the logical conclusion is yes, he did it. I think that Jon Jones is not the greatest person in the world, and he's probably a cheat. Yes, he has natural talent, but in my opinion, his natural talent is aided by some very unnatural things. And that's all I'm going to say about that. It's just my opinion. But still, I think even though Jones is as guilty as anybody out there, I think USADA is just pretty much busting whoever they want to bust, and they turn their heads the other way when it benefits them. Like in Brock Lesnar's case. I tend to see Jon Jones here as the fall guy for the USADA. Double standards. Is it because he's black and Brock Lesnar is white? I'm not even going to go there. Actually, it's not the case, because USADA can be paid off, just like Floyd Mayweather Jr. probably did. As many of you remember, Mayweather was using PED masking IVs prior to the Pacquiao fight, and he did not even let anybody know until 3 weeks after. And the USADA did absolutely nothing about it. You know why? Because Mayweather and USADA are working hand in hand, I think. Of course, I have no evidence of this, but if you use your common sense, that's what's happening here. That's why Floyd Mayweather is the poster boy for the USADA, because he has a secret handshake deal, you know, behind the scenes where, you know what, if I get the USADA signed up with professional boxing, and now he got it with the UFC as well, then you know what? This is what I want from you, USADA. I want to be able to use as much PEDs as I possibly can and not be dinged for it. That's exactly what the case was with Mayweather, in my opinion. But, you know, here comes double standards. Jon Jones doesn't have the same bank account as Mayweather, and he has a reputation. He's an easy target for the USADA. Brock Lesnar, big scary white dude, a bigger draw than Jon Jones, and he gets a pass. So what do you think, guys? I think this is bogus. I've never paid for a UFC pay-per-view before, and UFC 200 was going to be my first one. And now that's not going to happen. Thanks to the USADA, thanks to Jon Jones. I feel for Daniel Cormier. I hope that the night still goes great for the fighter's sake, and that Cormier, whoever he fights, I hope Cormier wins. I hope he doesn't just lose to a replacement, because that'd just be sad. Anyway, I'm Fighter for JC. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you think.